it's just like we're talking to each
Yeah.
other. Okay?
Ready?
Yeah.
3.
You don't have to look at the camera. Like, just
What's up, guys? It's our first podcast, Baseline Interdiction. I'm cooked already. I fucked up. Oh shit.
why are you that worried about it?
I don't know. It's just weird and it's awkward sitting here talking with you.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2. What's up, guys? It's Baseline Interdiction. It's our podcast. If you guys haven't heard of us, you can follow us on Instagram at baseline_interdiction, OH. Just a little bit about us. First off, we want to thank our department. We work for a local agency in the area. Thank our followers that we do have on Instagram. For a little while, we did vet it out. We recently changed that, so our following actually went up a lot. Want to thank our coworkers. I know they give us a lot of
shit.
yeah.
Sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. I guess when you have two people that are passionate about something, it's
Right.
people like to put other people down, but at the end of the day, they've been nothing but supportive. I mean, even we made hoodies for our department, somehow lost money, but they still rep the attire, and
for sure.
We have a nice little saying now of go out there and establish your baseline. So this is something new for us. We're going to learn together with you guys, and we're going to try to make this some quality material, not only for you, but it's just another way that we want to be able to share our knowledge, especially for those that don't get the opportunity to maybe attend our trainings. Right. When you're out working the road, give you something to listen to. We're not perfect. This probably won't be perfect. Like I said, it's going to be a learning experience for us, but it's also going to be something that hopefully, will be beneficial in the long run for everyone involved, not only us, because I'm sure we're going to learn things over time about how we can make it better for you guys. But all in all, we're just really excited and really grateful and fortunate to be where we're at in our careers. And we just want to see other people in this profession be as successful as possible. So that's why we're here. If you think it sucks, it sucks. If you think it's great, we're going to be here doing it at the end of the day. And that's what matters. So
you did mention classes. We do have an upcoming class. It's going to be held at the Stark County Training Center in Massillon, Ohio. Be on the lookout for the flyers for that. It'll have the address, ways to register, things like that. It's just our class, the street level course, basically proactive policing in a city environment. A lot of classes are highway interdiction. However, ours is cities, townships, different things like that. I think there's a difference between the highway interdiction and the city interdiction.
Yeah, I think local agencies are sometimes forgotten, when it comes to when you go to all these interdiction classes, both, at least for where we are locally in Ohio, and we've been fortunate enough to go out of state and travel and go to some other ones and go to some conferences for interdiction, and a lot of the focal points of those trainings are how these interdiction teams go out and whether the argument of cold stops and they go out and get their whisper stops, but I'm not here to judge. They take that information and they try to present it on a larger scale. And one thing that we've picked up on over the years is the local aspect, the proactive on the streets, when it comes to your local crackheads, the people that you deal with on a normal basis, how you can still see those same behaviors on a smaller scale, rather than if you're working, a major interstate or state route or a highway. So that's kind of, how we got established, is we wanted to make sure the local agencies got some love too, because not everyone's fortunate enough to wear a fancy hat.
For sure. It's all the same. We're all the same team, though. It's not any dig. The whisper stops. We would do the same if that was us as well. So a little bit about us. Devontae Nixon, obviously owner, co-founder here with Hunter of Baseline Interdiction. Been in law enforcement now for around 6 years. But I've been fortunate to see a lot within those 6 years. I had the fortunate opportunity to do a lot of things. Starting off brand new, I was at 20 years old. I worked for a sheriff's office while I was in the academy. I was actually a CO in the jail.
You didn't have the fancy hat yet?
No, I didn't. But once I was done with that, I transferred over to civil division, worked in the courthouse, did a little bit of road stuff, did some some civil duties, like I said, and then also prisoner transport. So it was kind of cool. I got to see like now working the road, and I'm also a dual purpose canine handler. Now working the road, I've kind of got to see every single step of the criminal justice system. So it's been kind of cool. It sucked. Um, when it was going on, but I'm very fortunate. I saw when agencies would book in a prisoner and then saw how these prisoners lived within the jail, how they were when they're incarcerated, and then saw the process of them going to court, going through court trials, hearings, and then eventually to the point to where they ride out to prison. Got to go take them to the prison and then also see what that booking process is like. So it's pretty cool.
The parts that we usually run out, the normal patrol guys that,
Right.
you know, we drop people off at county and want nothing to do with it.
Right, right. So it's cool to see the different areas of that. After that, I actually worked for a drug task force, did some undercover work. That was very sketchy. I was very young, but got to see how the narc world worked. So that was pretty good. Being a police officer is something I always wanted to do. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Bad Boys, Will Smith, the first one. I got that for like my 6th or 7th birthday and watched that movie and was just obsessed with everything police from that point on. Always told myself, like, yeah, I'm going to be a cop. My mom would say, like, oh, you should go do this, you should do this. Oh, it's dangerous. Still supported me, but like, I was just obsessed, everything police related. And that's how I got to where I'm at today. Interdiction wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't an interest of mine when I first began, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what they want to do.
Didn't know what it was.
When you
Didn't know how to do it. I just knew I wanted to go out and put bad guys in jail. So
because Bad Boys is more of a detective based movie, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
So there's a point in time in my life where yes, all I wanted to be was a detective. I used
Everyone's
to
do. I mean, you got all these
run around. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna throw on a shirt and tie. I'm gonna throw on my gun. I'm going to the office, or I'm doing this. Playing cops and robbers as a kid, I was always the cop.
I love that stuff.
Most kids always want to be the robber. I always want to be the cop. So I got made fun of growing up for that stuff, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Listen, everyone wants to be a detective when especially when they first get into this job because I think it's the coolest thing. But the reality is there's so much more to this job, and you know after what he just said, I mean my experience myself, you know I've been doing this job for about 5 years now. Started out at a small local agency right out of the academy. Was actually hired on my 21st birthday, which was wild because as soon as you turn 21, at least in Ohio, that's when you can first hold a gun legally. And it's like, all right, you're 21 at 12:55 p.m. You know, here's a gun, and that's kind of how it was. And the agency that I'm at now is actually in that hiring process right out of the academy, and a smaller agency decided to give me an opportunity first, so I actually pulled out of that opportunity. Went to go work for the smaller agency for about 3.5 years.
That was cool. You're their guy.
Listen,
you're a drug guy. And
when you work for an agency with 11 people, you know it's you know
learn
chief, two sergeants. It's an interesting dynamic. But you know I'm forever grateful for that opportunity because especially in our job, there's a lot of things as far as independency that you have to learn to kind of be comfortable with. And when I worked the road for 3.5 years at that smaller agency, you know I was by myself a lot of that time. And you know when it comes to your calls for service, you know, your backup being 10, 15 minutes away and, you know, you're the only one in a marked car for your agency, it can be a little intimidating. But I think that definitely helped grow me as a person. And like you know, when I first started this job, I didn't, you know, oh, I wanted to be the detective, you know, but the reality was I came from a family of law enforcement. I'm fourth generation law enforcement. My family, however, all wore the pointy hat, not pointy hats, but all the fancy hats for the state. And I got an opportunity to ride with local agencies as I was 18, 19, kind of shifted my passion of where I wanted to be. You know, I realized I didn't want to just be traffic control and accidents and say, all right, here's your speeding ticket, have a good rest of your day. You know, that's not my thing. You know, I thrive on personal interaction, developing conversations and creating relationships with people, even though we deal with the same shitheads on a day-to-day basis sometimes. During that 3.5 years, you know, I led that department in proactive arrests, felony arrests, and was fortunate enough to work a task force like you did. It was the Metro Narcotics Unit for the county that respectively we work in. Did that for a year and a half. Did search warrants. You know, the way we do it here is as long as it didn't meet a certain threat assessment, you know, we were the ones kicking in doors. We were the ones, you know, raiding the houses, and you see some shit.
For sure.
You see some shit. You see the narcotics on a much bigger scale, you know, your bigger dealers, unless, like I said, we would bring SWAT in, and SWAT would just say, hey, you have 35 minutes to come out, or we're gonna we're gonna gas you. So this is the police. You have time to flush your drugs. You being a former SWAT operator, I'm sure you know how that works.
For sure.
We tend to like doing it ourselves, but obviously at the end of the day, safety is what's important. Especially working for that smaller agency, we didn't have a lot of call volume. We only averaged about 5,000 calls a year, compared to where we are now for the agency, where we averaged about 35,000. Kind of traffic and interdiction was all I really had. It's
Right.
it's either I sit there and watch movies or South Park till 5 in the morning, or I go out and try to get into something. So that's kind of what I fell into love doing, whether it be the bare basic driving under suspensions, or OVIs, or pulling dope. And the first time I got narcotics off a stop, I felt a form of satisfaction that I guess I never really felt for anything else, because I'll be honest, like I said, everyone's supposed to be the detective. The first case that I got when it came to being a detective, because we had to investigate all of our own crimes, I was like, man, this shit's kind of gay.
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's definitely something I give him credit. One of my good buddies is as a detective, and I couldn't do his job, especially an SIU detective where that's your only job and things are slow and then they're up this time and you got so many other things to do, but then you also have to pitch in and help in different areas. That's not something that I want to do.
I just hate calling people.
Yeah.
I hate calling people. I could give a fuck about follow-ups. I'll be honest. Like, I'm much more of a instant gratification type of person. And interdiction, unless, like I said, unless you get a big one and you follow that around and you pass it on the DB for a big fish kind of case, it's a lot of instant gratification. What sucks is the motto, at least for us, when I was working the task force for Metro, is 1095. And for those of you that don't know, in Ohio, a lot of our drug offenders get something called 1095 probation,
which is 1,095 days of probation.
Yeah, so it's does the drug world lead to a lot of long prison time, or does it truly better the streets? I think so, but the way our courts view it, the way our prosecutors view it, sometimes these offenders, especially your low level, crackheads and people, they're just going to get probation. But still, the instant satisfaction, at least for me, how I love to do it is, it's like a game. It's like a game of cat and mouse. Someone thinks they're going to get from point A to point B with whatever they think they have, and they think they're going to make it there unscathed. And I find the satisfaction of involving myself on someone that had no idea how how their day was going to go, and saying, I knew nothing about you, but based on the behaviors that I saw, I stopped you, I recognized stuff, and I prevented you from getting to point A to point B with whatever level of narcotics you're traveling with. And that's something I thrived with. And, that passion led me to actually wanting to go join a bigger agency, which obviously now we work together.
For sure.
You're lucky enough to get the dog. I'm still working on trying to get to that point. Hopefully here in the next,
it'll come.
Yeah, hopefully coming here in the next couple months or years. There's some opportunities I'm hopeful for, but
just keep trucking along.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can carry the leash around my waist like you do sometimes. Trying to be Billy Badass. But the drug world is really the kind of work that I fell into loving, and I it's something that I'm the most passionate for. Obviously, there's so many forms of police work, and everything is, at the end of the day, of what we do. There's so many different ways to be passionate about it. There's so many different ways to put that practice into its best way. But at least for me, and I know Devontae here, like, I love the drug work, and I think that's how I want to see my career go. I want to run a dog. We'll see what happens. But
sure.
Until that point, I'm going to stay passionate about it. And that's why we're here. We're here to help other people kind of fall into that want to fall into that type of experience and expertise.
I think the biggest thing, like you just mentioned, is you get that instant like high when you find these narcotics, and like you said, it's a cat and mouse game, but that also goes into, it works out 10 times better, and you get even more of it when you establish your baseline, or you decipher between these normal and abnormal and normal behaviors, and you make that stop in the car and you're having that interaction with that person. And everything that you're talking about, everything that we teach and we've seen, and in our class we show real life body cams. I like to pride ourselves on is we really don't use other people's body cams. Everything that we use in our class is all our own experience, and you can see it in real time of how it works. So when we're teaching these things, or newer officers come to us and they say, hey, I saw this, I saw XYZ, and they can show you on their body camera, show you that interaction to where things that you've taught them or different behaviors to look for, you can see it right there, and they uncover whether it be a warrant or narcotics or guns, anything like that.
Sometimes it's just them, they're suspended,
Right. And we'll dive into that. So, but first off, let's talk about like how the baseline get started. Starting off, like if you told me I'd be sitting here doing a podcast right now, I'd tell you
you're full of shit.
Full of shit. You're probably high as hell. But then also not only that, like I never saw myself trying to create a program or a training company. Like it was never really a thought for me until I started getting into the narcotics world, doing these stops, and then eventually getting to the point to where I'm not just stopping cars. I'm now handpicking my stops and being able to decipher through things. So funny story. Actually, so myself and another officer, that works for our agency, we were getting into things, and everybody kept coming to us, younger officers, even some veteran officers. Hey, how'd you do this? Or every time you made a stop, you knew like it was going to result in an arrest. So everybody's flying to your stop at that point. It came to a point to where we're teaching it so much, just kind of informal. We're like, hey, like, why don't we just come up with the training program and just dish it out to the agency? We can show our new officers and things like that.
Well, this was relatively early too. This was like what, 3-4 years ago now? Yeah.
Nothing serious. Didn't even have a name. It was just like
it did have a name. It wasn't
well, later on.
It wasn't.
But anyways, that kind of went down the chute. Other officer was like, yeah, it's not me, bro. Look, respect it, no hard feelings.
Great guy. Great officer. He knows what he's doing. No disrespect. He went on to bigger and better things. He's fortunate enough to be working in our DB, answering phone calls, calling other people, the stuff that we don't like to do.
But anyways, so we're one night, this is right after Hunter came over to our agency, and like I said, he was their interdiction guy. He's their drug guy, and we knew each other from prior working events and stuff like that. And I said, hey, like we should do this company together. And we kind of laughed about it for a little while. I actually came in on my night off because I had no life, and this is prior to me getting a dog.
You do that a lot. You come in on your off time.
And I hopped in the car with him. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just do a ride along, say, with him one night, and we talked about it. And I said, all right, let's do this. He's all for it. He's like, no, for sure. Like, I respected him and his work. He knew what he was talking about. He knew how to conduct these traffic stops.
It helps when you're friends too.
For sure.
Like I said, we've known each other. Like I said, we've both been doing this for about 5-6 years, but we've known each other for like 6 or 7. It helps having that relationship already. And
right.
It was almost like before that. It was. I mean, him and I still do this. We have the personal competition back and forth
but that's always good as long as it's friendly, and that's all it is.
Yeah. It's sometimes not friendly, but it's
that's for another day.
Yeah, it's motivation though. At the end of the day, that you're trying to be the best not only for yourself but also because you have someone else that's lighting a fire under your ass to be better.
For sure.
So
back to this.
Back to how the
baseline started.
In the baseline.
So we're sitting there and we're in the cruiser and we're like, all right, cool. What the hell do we name it? And Hunter's driving, and I'll never forget this. It sounds kind of gay, but like it is.
Okay, but if you have feelings, he's driving, it's all right,
And he's like, I don't know. What about baseline? I'm like, what? Like baseline? He's like, yeah, like there's the abnormal and normal behaviors. There's a baseline between them, and you have to determine like what's normal, what's abnormal. I'm like, holy shit, like that is crazy. Well, we're like, okay, it's going to be baseline. Well, what the hell are we going to use for a logo? So I'm literally sitting there scrolling on websites and like Google and just trying to find some random generic B with some type of like design around it to use.
Just be happy you can see the original drafts of what the baseline logo looked like, because it was listen. I failed art class as a kid, so like he's definitely the more creative one. But you would think a 6-year-old etch sketch something and we kind of just print something out, but. Luckily, your creativity kind of took over.
Yeah. So I got my iPad out. I started drawing up a different design, and used a couple apps and came up with this logo. From then on, started putting it on things. Started the Instagram. Listen, we're not like crazy. Like we have a couple hundred followers. Like, but I will say we vetted a lot of things. I had some conversations with some bigger interdictors out there in the world, some bigger companies. Kind of got some advice from them, and still do to this day. So still working on that. However, check out our Instagram. Like I said, we are always posting like different Caesars.
Hashtag ad.
Yeah.
And now for our video viewers,
different thing like
we have our sweet flag back here, representing the baseline addiction.
But no, all seriousness, yeah. So we started that out, and that's kind of where we started. Started putting on classes within our agency. And like I said, we do have one coming up February 27th on the 2026. And that's going to be at the Stark County Training Center, and that's in Maston, Ohio. Look out for that flyer.
Great opportunity for us, honestly. Like we're very fortunate to have the opportunity, as especially to, I would just say, up and coming. For people that want to. I mean, at the end of the day, like we're doing this just because we feel as though, like I said earlier, the local aspect of proactivity and interdiction is kind of forgotten, and we don't know where it's going to go. We at the end of the day feel like that we have something to offer, and we want to see you there. We want to. If you guys feel like you guys want more information from us and want any and all tips, I mean, we're going to get into that here shortly. It's just take the help. You don't know what you don't know. You can come. You don't like it. There's going to be some lovely new fresh class review sheets that my partner here developed. You want to say it sucks, say it sucks. We'll be better. We'll learn from it. Like I said earlier, we're not great at this. This is new for us.
What we always tell people is it's always like, and I'm sure you guys have heard it before, it's nothing brand new, but our way isn't the way, it's a way. We're just showing you how we've done things, and we've been successful from them. Our other newer officers, they've done the same things we've had, and they've been successful. So it's just time and time again, but at the end of the day, we're always still learning. We're always still striving to do better. Put out new content for you guys, things like that.
Well, I think it goes back to especially with when in your officers, when you're in field training, the goal is you never want to be exactly like somebody.
For sure.
You want to pull some things from all the different people you ride with, all the different people you work with, and that's just something that we're just trying to provide. We don't want to we're not having you guys come out, having you guys listen to us just for the sake of, we want you to do it this way. This is the only way. No, we're hoping that if you come, if you listen to us, we want you to take the information that we're giving you and turn it into your own way. We want to see you be successful, and we want to hear about it. We're going to want to hear about, the stuff you get, whether it's your little dime bag or if it's something big. And, the reality is the stuff that we're teaching you is you can put into practice for so many different types of things. Like I said, you can see these behaviors from the smallest level, someone just forgot their license driving around, or who's carrying around a kilo. It really just depends. And like I said, it's something the academy lacks in teaching, at least for in Ohio. It's something that, like I said, at least for these bigger companies that have the opportunities to work, large force drug interdiction task force, which, again, no disrespect, those are, I feel like, are the most badass positions in the world. It's just we for the people that work local agencies and stuff like that are running city streets, it's just fun. We wanted to direct that focus there. So
if I'm a brand new officer, what are some things that that are going to be told to me if I come to you and I'm like, hey, Hunter,
you're my trainee.
Yeah. Or I'm like, hey, I really want to get into interdiction, but I don't know where to start. What are some things I can do to kind of
have you pissed me off already and I like you, or have you pissed me off and I don't like you? No, I'm kidding. I've had the opportunity to be a field trainer too. So I've had this question asked to me a lot, and I'm sure you have too.
Sure. Yeah.
You always wear around your field trainee pin.
I don't. It's actually taken off now.
Oh, sorry. You had to fit room for your canine pin. No, I've had this question asked a lot. I mean, the reality is, especially the people that come in, this can go two ways. You have your people that come in and who are new and green and don't know anything about interdiction.
Or they're not afraid to admit that.
Yeah, they're not afraid to admit that. But then you also have your people that have been doing this job for a while and have never really kind of taken the time to become fluent with it. So I guess, but the answer at the end of the day for both those types of people is really the same thing. Don't go out and try to look for the big fish immediately. I mean, the reality is if you haven't taken the time to, how I say it, this is going to sound corny, but establish your baseline,
right?
And breaking that down on a smaller level is, if you haven't taken the time to work on your craft as a police officer, you're not even going to know what the hell we're talking about. I mean, I always tell people the same as when you start and you want to get into this job is, you have to go out and you have to stop your grandmas. You have to go out. You have to
stop 100 cars.
Yeah,
100 cars.
Yeah,
you're never gonna know.
It's about volume, especially freshly starting out. You're not gonna know what abnormal behavior is if you've never seen it. you know, you have to remember, especially, I think this is, I mean, I got pulled over on my way home from North Carolina a couple weeks ago because, I wanted to get home and I was tired of driving. But I was nervous, and I'm a cop. I've been doing this for 5 years. You're not going to know how people react to law enforcement. Obviously, we're law enforcement, so like we expect every interaction to be the same, but like it's not going to be. You know, every individual, every person in this world has a different reaction to the presence of law enforcement.
And there's the difference between normal and abnormal.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like everybody's nervous. I've been pulled over a few times in my life and I'm like nervous. I'm like, I gotta sit back and think for a second. I'm like, why am I nervous? Like,
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, like you gotta understand, like there is an absolute, like everybody's nervous when they get pulled over. And once you start going to court, if you're an LEO and you start getting asked these questions, the whole, oh, they were nervous. Well, that's not good enough.
You have to describe that.
There's a difference between abnormal and normal nervousness.
Because everyone's going to be nervous with law enforcement.
For sure.
Like I said, I got pulled over by a pointy hat in West Virginia, and I about shit my pants. So it's the reality is what we talk about is volume and establishing your baseline. It's really just when I first started, I was out making 7-8 stops a night. It's not trying to go out and make the flashy arrest. It's not trying to go out and make it, like, obviously you want to make a name, but like, don't go big fish hunting if you've never even fished in a small pond. Like every person you deal with, you need to be able to pick up on how because reality, like you said, everyone's gonna be nervous,
right?
But there's a baseline level of nervous that by learning how to talk to people efficiently and effectively, you can kind of, how I like to describe it, is lower their water level. And because everyone has like an icebreaker, like when you meet these people for the first time, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg,
right?
And you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know the past history of the said individual when it comes to their encounter with law enforcement, and they're gonna have that nervousness, their baseline behavior of dealing with you, and for interdiction, you're gonna see that every day from every person you stop. But it's how you talk to people to kind of, one, calm them down, see if that nervousness you can ease and relax by saying, like I said, when I stop people after I give my first initial spiel, I usually end with, hey, as long as everything checks okay, I'm going to get you out of here with a warning. And for most people, because most people are worried about the financial aspect of it, of getting the ticket, that should calm you down. Now,
sure.
if that does, like, if I physically tell you that and that doesn't calm you down, that's a problem. And we want to know why. Like, that leads into the next conversation of clarifying questions, trying to figure out what exactly ultimately is making you nervous, even though that 9 times out of 10, the biggest thing that people are nervous about when they get pulled over is getting a ticket. And if I negate that reason for why you should be nervous by simply saying you're going to get a warning that has no court, no fine, nothing like that, you should kind of calm down. And you'll see that by the way they talk. You'll see that in the way that their body language changes. Body language is a big thing. Obviously, I'm not trying to spiel everything in our first episode here, but it's really just, I'm trying to describe this here.
This is basically like, so this is everything that we talk about in our class, and we go in depth and we'll go through different things. So like, nonetheless, when we're talking about nervousness, we're talking about, okay, people might take a minute to respond to you. They may take a minute to hand you something. If I walk up to your car and it's 30 degrees outside and you're sweating like you just got into a swimming pool and jumped out, that's a problem. If you're smoking a cigarette and from the time that I walk up to the car, your cigarette's brand new, and I get you out of the car to have a conversation, your cigarette's already gone and you're asking for another one, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about that chest rise where I can physically see your shirt move as I'm talking to you. Different things like that.
But going back to like what you said about what do I tell people, like one of the biggest things I say, especially like out of the academy, it's almost like they tell you like a script of how your traffic stops are supposed to go.
License, registration, everybody has the myth, like the formal.
That shit don't work.
No.
So like how I tell people is like, listen, when you make a stop, all right, you should have a general idea of, one, how you're starting your stop, how you're initiating it, what you're going to say. And then you should know from the point you walk up from that initial spiel of where you want that stop to end, based on the stuff you've seen up to that point.
It takes not even, maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes within a stop, if this person's dirty or not.
Yeah, you should know by then whether or not you want to search this car. You should know by then, if you tend to, like, one thing that we learned a couple weeks ago was you can't make a unicorn a unicorn. Like you should know if you have a good stop, which obviously we're going to teach you over time. But you should have a point of how you want the stop to start and a general idea of how you want the stop to end. Everything in between there, what you say, the questions you ask is going to strictly be dictated on the response and behaviors that you get from the person you're making contact with. Not only the driver, but the passengers as well. Because just because you stop the driver, there's times where you're going to be more interested in the passengers in the car than you are in the driver. So everything in between there should be free flowing. And that's where you have to be confident talking to people. And that's where one thing I feel like in this job is kind of forgotten is
absolutely people will give you that strict answer and then you're like, oh shit, where do I go now? I don't know how to continue this conversation.
Or if you haven't made enough stops, someone's going to say something that's going to throw you off. Yeah. And then you're just sitting there, awkward silence.
I tell everybody, don't be a robot. Like, don't be a robot. Have that conversation with people. Like, don't walk up, license, registration. I walk up, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Like, that's why I stopped you. Like, you got your ID on you?
Do you even tell people your name anymore?
No,
that's
not no, because it's not a real thing anymore.
Like, you should know that it's the police. And people are like, oh, this is Officer so and so from the so and so fucking police department. No, like the reality is like I walk up to a lot like you. Hey man, how's it going? The reason for the stop is this. As long as everything checks okay, I'll get you out of here as soon as possible. And then how they respond to that question, how they respond from their point on dictates the rest of what I say. I go into my, the questions that I want to have answered from the time I first start talk to you, time I'm done talking, which we'll get into another time. But, it's, you don't be robotic, don't be robotic. Don't be afraid. Like, obviously when you see people, you should know kind of already whether or not it's going to be something. And I'm not saying that, there's times where you're going to go into it not expecting it to be something and it turns into something, but that's where we're going to go into, like, make stops, have a volume of the want and urge to develop on what normal behavior looks like from those who are just simply trying to do normal human day-to-day things.
Right. Absolutely. And another big thing too is like, along with all this, I know it's boring to most people, but it helps you out tremendously, is know your case law. And I don't mean like be a case law nerd where you can recite every single case law, but know what you can and you can't do.
I still struggle with case law, but like the basic ones.
Know what you can and can't do, because that's going to help you. It's going to know if this person throws out this answer, okay, I can do this, I still have this, or I'm not delaying the stop, or I'm not doing this.
When people like to give a shit, when people try to like push back a little bit on what we're trying to do to like kind of dictate that stop, if you don't know what you're legally allowed to do, you're going to second guess yourself. And then they're going to be the ones leading the stop. And that's not what we want.
And then they're going to stop and there's going to be this awkward silence. You're going to stand there. Oh, well, lost this one. You're going to turn around and go back to your car and then probably go stop somebody else and do the same thing again. So that's a big thing too. Go to as many classes as possible. Like, that's how you learn. We learn from each other. The whole reason why we're doing this is to show newer officers, older officers who've been doing this longer. And you're going to learn so much from there as well.
And I will say, like,
a million different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, and I will say, like, especially like him and I, like, doing this for a while and going to as many classes as we can, is they're all ultimately going to have the same message. And a lot of the stuff that not only we're going to teach you, but they would teach you, all have the same foundation and core.
For sure.
However, the way that we're going to teach you is how we implement, how we adapted it to a way that works for local and street level work. But if you aren't going to these classes and you aren't taking the time to better yourself, like, what else are you doing? Especially if you want to find an area or field that you want to be good at. If you're not taking the time to review, like, your state's course catalog or going to trainings when it comes to even just case law, like, you're putting yourself on a natural disadvantage, because the reality is not only are we expected to have the experience and the knowledge of how we're going to go out and look for things, criminals have experience too.
Absolutely.
And we get outsmarted all the time. And the reality is that we can't expect these people that, granted, can't even get their fucking GEDs, because they've been a criminal their entire life. They know how to be a criminal. That's their area of expertise. They grew up online. They grew up on deception. If
Joe Blow, he's been to prison 25 times already in his life.
And he's outsmarted.
He's out and he's got pulled over 10 different times, and 7 out of those 10 times he's went to jail. He's gone through that court process 7 times. He has gone through different reasons maybe that his attorney has attacked, and he's seen what worked and seen what didn't. There's sometimes you'll see newer officers, they get punked out on calls. Not in a bad way. It's just they're gonna call you out if you're doing something. 9 times out of 10, they'll say like, "Hey, bro, you can't do that," or "Hey, no, I can do this because the law says this."
Well, that and like just like how we read body behavior and body language, a criminal reads your body language just as fucking well. So like if he feels like you're kind of being a bitch and you don't know what you're talking about, he's gonna push back. And then especially if you don't know what you're talking about and you haven't taken the time to kind of realize that, hey, this is bullshit, or hey, like, wait a minute, I know I'm doing the right thing, but why is he still pushing back?
Right. Confidence is a hell of a thing.
Yeah, like you're kind of gonna be a bitch, and then you're gonna let him go because one, you either that silence, or at that point you're now delaying the stop because you're trying to manufacture a way of trying to prove yourself right based on not actually knowing that you're right. Like, complacency kills. You can't say you're smarter than everyone. You can't say you're the best at doing something if you don't actually know. And just like these criminals, they have experience, real world experience. They know how to outsmart you, and the reality is they probably have already. And that's why they're doing it, because they know it's worked in the past. And that's why we're here. We're here to try to help you be able to pick up on those things. We want to see people put themselves in not only better positions to find things, but also be safe at the end of the day.
Right.
And that's our goal as a company. That's our goal with these classes. Obviously, everything that we've went over today, like, is just the tip of the iceberg going back to, Grandma Susie.
We're gonna go into class. Like I said, our classes are phenomenal. I'm not just saying that. This is from the feedback we've gotten already from other people. And like I said, it works. In our classes, we go through real life body cam where you can see it in first person. We go through different behaviors. We go through different things to look for. We'll show you when things don't make sense, different things to look for. So my advice to you, newer officers, especially, go out there, stop 100 cars a night. I promise you on that 100.
You'll piss off your dispatchers, but
yeah, I promise one of those stops, you'll see the one, and it'll hit you in your face. You'll be like, holy shit, this is completely different than everything else.
Or you're going to stop the car and you're going to walk away at the end of the day because you didn't know what to do with it, but you're still going to know when you get back in your car, like, that was something. And we're here to show you why it was something and how next time you can pull something out of it.
Stay busy. Even when people give me shit at work, even when I'm not doing something, so they're not hearing me on the radio or making stops, I'm sitting somewhere, I'm watching behaviors, I'm sitting in a gas station parking lot, I'm sitting watching the dope house. I'm still gathering information.
Especially in the local, like, you're going to see a lot of the same cars. So like that pattern of behavior, like, if you're not out paying attention, like, listen, I play plenty of phone games when I'm working. I'm on the phone sometimes, but like, if you're not taking the majority of your time to pay attention, you're going to miss a lot of things, because it's like I said, especially working locally, if you truly pay attention and, we say go out and make a lot of stops, you're going to see a lot of the same cars. You're going to see a lot of the same behaviors.
Right.
And then those times when you're like, hey, I haven't seen that car before, and I've been working this beat, I've been working these roads for a long time. It's these small things are going to be what stands out to you. So, like he said, stay busy. We plan to come back. We plan to kind of give more podcasts. We're looking forward to seeing you in February. Like I said,
26th.
February 26th.
Well, be on the lookout. We'll put out the flyer. It'll have the way to register on that, and we'll get you guys squared away.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. We're looking forward to providing content on the podcast. Like I said, at the end of the day, we're just here to make everyone better. We're not perfect. We're not the best there is, but we're here to provide something that I know that a lot of local agencies and local law enforcement, whether you're a rookie or whether you're a veteran, isn't providing. So
we appreciate you guys.
Go out, establish your baseline. Don't be afraid to. Okay?
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you, guys.